Welcome everyone to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. I really want to thank everyone for their patience. It's been a while. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, and just before I left, enjoying a little bit of me time, I was about to record a video but didn't end up uploading it. My apologies for that. I think Bitcoin just broke out, or just may have started to show signs of a breakout. But it was discussed in the last video that we were looking at a potential breakout. Same for ETH. I really appreciate everyone who's been asking for a new video. Really enjoy that kind of support from everyone. Looking forward to these videos, so thanks for that. Without further ado, we're not going to be talking much about my holiday, but we're going to be talking about what Bitcoin has been doing and what ETH has been doing. Simply said, if you've been watching the last four videos, the first four videos of Price Targets, you will have seen that we were talking about this exhausted supply that has been tested a lot of times. I think I've used the term inverse capitulation to occur if we actually go through it, and that the odds of breaking this were very high. I think in the last video we talked about the change in behavior that kind of signaled this breakout. So that's something that I think a lot of people will enjoy watching again. And if you haven't watched it, definitely do so, because I think there was some great information in there. So on the weekly for Bitcoin versus USD, we've gone through this exhausted supply zone, and actually we've closed above the weekly resistances as well that we formed back in early 2018 and then in July 2019, and now we're closed above it. The highest weekly close actually since probably January 2018, so that's pretty significant. And I've been saying that I do believe that Bitcoin is in some kind of either in the first wave of the new bull run, but more probably in some ABC correction. So we talked about that in a couple of videos. Just to recap, this video might take a little bit longer because we're just getting back into it and been offline for a while. My apologies if it's going to take too long, but I feel it's necessary. So to do a little recap, A, B, C, and whether C ends up here, whether C ends up here, or even at all-time high, that remains to be seen. It's very tough to say. Technically, it's allowed to go to all-time high without actually... Why is it doing this? Well, just have to manually remove it, apparently. I don't know. TradingView, what are you doing? You are supposed to delete that when I hit Ctrl Z. So I still remain of the opinion that this is probably some kind of ABC pattern, and with the current situation, with inflation being high, with the fact that this market is still spot driven, with a huge capitulation that occurred here, that was a giant irrational extension to the downside. I do think that we're currently forming our last leg of this rally up, which kind of started right here and is now moving up. So this is kind of wave 5 of this entire thing. It's a C wave. Then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 5th wave generally likes to extend itself quite significantly on Bitcoin, and at this point I do think that the market is going to punish everyone who's remaining to have some kind of disbelief. Disbelief is a big fucker. There's even like people who are actually starting to get bullish, but they're still taking profit too early. This market has yet to become very irrational, and the world is starting to see Bitcoin as a proper hedge. We saw Paul Tudor Jones jump in March. I think Dave Portnoy did the same, but has not been public about it until now. And we see the news, the positive news, the FOMO news ramp up right now with all kinds of new articles that, I don't know, whoever like super rich, smart, 1.4 trillion hedge fund, financial, whatever dude is saying that we need to buy Bitcoin. These are all signs that we're in this final extension of price. But it's very, very difficult to jump out early as this becomes, because if there's a lot of outside money actually flowing into Bitcoin, it's really hard to predict where that top is going to be. That said, I think that we are not done yet. I think we're still trailing gold, but with lag. So gold went to all-time highs. I think it's very probable for Bitcoin to do the same, or at least get very close. The S&P 500 is around all-time high. I think it just swept it slightly. Might actually go even higher. There's new stimulus packages going into the market. I think they're gonna like eventually tone these down, but for now they're still there. And I do actually think that gold was leading, the S&P 500 followed, and then Bitcoin was lagging behind that. And I think each of them are gonna print similar patterns, like a correction upwards that might even actually go past all-time high without it actually becoming a real bull market. So in the bigger scope, what I'm expecting right now is some kind of flat correction or a running flat correction. And you'll have to Google that. I'm not going to be explaining exactly how these work, but you have some homework to do if you're really interested in that. So let's jump down to the 3-day, or maybe even the daily. We're through the supply zone, and I kind of marked this as the fourth wave correction, which was a pretty vertical accumulation yet again. Generally, fourth waves, they tend to correct sideways or downwards. Sideways ones leave a lot of room for upward motion, and a lot of people right now are seeing some kind of like rising wedge form. And it kind of depends where that kind of forms, but I do think this is wave one of the expansion, of the fifth final wave. So this would be a wave 2 correction. This could be like some kind of running flat or just a regular flat, and this is just a breakout, the pullback, and then we're starting with wave 3 of that. So basically, I don't think we're done. I think we're going to go much higher, and I've always been a proponent of saying that we have to at least see like 16.9k, and that's where I'm going to be starting to take profits, reduce leverage. It's not at the moment where I'm going to be hedging short yet, but I built a portfolio back in March, scaling into spot Bitcoin, and then using that spot Bitcoin to build leverage positions. And I've been building that leverage to increase the size and the exposure at risk-defined levels. We've talked about this on Twitter a lot, and right now I don't think I'm going to add any more. I think we're going to get in this like ridiculous extension that's going to happen very fast, very quick. I think it's going to like complete itself within the next 4 weeks. By like mid of September, should probably see a top, and it could be a little bit later, a bit I don't know. But reducing that leverage is the first step to the strategy, and then once that leverage is reduced, I'm fully in Bitcoin spot exposure in terms of Bitcoin, and from that point on, I'm going to be looking to 1x short. If the fees are sky high, I'm going to start building that 1x short a little bit early. I don't mind. And then once the top kind of confirms itself a little bit more, then I'm going to be looking to expand it and actually make some money if the market turns around. Not saying it will, but it's very likely it will. I think we're just gonna retrace the whole irrational extension from here. Right now, price has been ranging between I don't know, like 11 and 12, and I do think we're gonna revisit those prices, or maybe even lower. Like I'm not gonna say that we eventually, if we go all the way up there, I'm not going to say that we don't go back below 10K. I don't know. We'll have to see whatever happens there. But taking profit and starting to build a little short portfolio with a 1x, so at least the USD value is preserved, is making a lot of sense to me. And then if things change and turn out to be far more bullish, then we'll have to be patient and see whether we can redefine an entry. With that said, I think that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. I think we're through the exhausted supply zone, and that the next supply zone is where we're going. And I do actually think it's gonna it might actually go through that too. But let's start with 14 to 16K and see how our metrics develop. ETH BTC weekly chart. This is probably just so juicy because on the last video we were pretty much around this level right here, the retest of this little box, and we were talking about how it was so likely and so logical for this just to pierce through to the old range high. We reached into it. We have this like kind of like Livermore cylinder, and we have this like channel up here. Right now, I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but ETH has been the leading force, has been outperforming the benchmark Bitcoin, and to be honest, has been the benchmark in this market. It's not really weird because ETH has been, is going to see is seeing testnets developed for 2.0 and being deployed, and all the Uniswap craze that's going on is being run on Ethereum. And Ethereum was just lagging behind Bitcoin so badly. So it's just recovering. I think I posted on Twitter whilst being on holiday that claiming this horizontal resistance is going to be difficult, especially because there's like this diagonal resistance. But I do think that's, if that gets broken, we're claiming a diagonal. So that's kind of like parabolic behavior. You'll see channels and even wedges that keep on pointing steeper and steeper and steeper, and everyone thinks it's a wedge, etc., etc., etc. But eventually, it just turns to be steeper and steeper and steeper. So I'm not really sure if that's going to happen, but I think Ethereum is going to stay leading. And this would be then, I'd classify this then as a Livermore cylinder. And at that point, I'm pretty sure it's going to fill the void. Here, there's like a large inefficiency. Nothing has traded in here. There's not a lot of resistance. So I think the next resistance is going to be formed by this this inefficiency first, by reaching actually through it into this area. So that would be a pretty sick rally, especially if Bitcoin also is going to go up. And I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure like here is going to be some resistance at some point. But that would be the next target. If not, then a very logical area of support is going to be the range low, the old range low right here in this gray box. And then we're just probably going to be, I don't know, consolidating on ETH for a while. Nothing too interesting. And at that point, it probably is best to sit in Bitcoin until Ethereum BTC actually reaches this zone, and that would be a great place to scale back into ETH. For now, I'm just holding because I think this is just going to rip. I might be wrong. I've been on the money for a while, and at some point that streak is going to end. So this might be actually the moment where it's going to end. But it's been holding on pretty well, to be honest. Like, it's just, it hasn't seen any real rejection so far. It kind of makes me feel that all the dips are being bought up, and that we're going to see way more action. ETHUSD, we talked about support being here and this being again pivot in the previous videos, and it's been doing that actually pretty beautifully. First target's been reached and breached, and actually it seems like it's kind of like finding support on this extremely beautiful SR pivot. I just bought a little bit more ETH recently in the form of contracts against ETH USD. That way, if ETH BTC doesn't perform too well, at least, you know, this is going to make up for that. So it's kind of like a hedge as well. If this is going to continue, and if you know, if the BTC is going to do what I hope and think it's going to do, and then BTC USD is going to do the same as being upwards, I think that we're looking at price targets up to 800 or even slightly higher pretty soonish, and then you know, the whole setup, the whole prediction analysis is pretty much complete. I think from that point we're going to retrace, and I'm not sure if this is going to hold, but you know, that's too far away. Let's focus on what is in front of us now. ETH USD is kind of forming the same kind of like structure, slightly more steep than BTC USD. So in that regard, I do think that this might actually, you know, break upwards as well, and it's been reclaiming important resistances and holding it. So I don't know, this market looks incredibly primed for more upside. Alts are looking strong. The one alt that I really think is going to outperform the market, if the things I've said in this video so far actually continue to work out, is Litecoin, because it's, I don't know, like, let me grab a chart of Litecoin versus Ethereum. This is not the chart I shared on Twitter. Regardless of that, it's in this kind of like range. Let's see, bam, 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 something like that. And it's found like the range low. It actually swept the range low right here, and it's reclaiming that range. So I do think that this entire rally, that rally is done for, and then it's going to reverse. So that means if ETH BTC has strength, so Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, that I want to be long Litecoin, because Litecoin seems to be is likely to go outperform Ethereum. So it's like a leverage trade without leverage, but just outperforming the market on top of the outperformance of the benchmark, which is, you know, these opportunities don't come along that often. And on top of that, we do have narratives for Litecoin. They're getting a block Visa card, which is great. Like, people are actually going to be able to spend Litecoins natively on the Visa network. So I might even get one of those. And then other than that, we're going to see Mimblewimble implementations and some other developments. And whether or not that's really going to happen, it's going to be the narrative. And it's just been lagging so hard. Versus USD, it looks good. Versus BTC, it looks good. I think Litecoin is a winner. And simply because of the fact that it's going to outperform the market, it's not necessarily that important to get a huge bag of it. Like, get enough. But don't lose your risk management out of sight, because actually I might be wrong that this is going to go up versus Ethereum, and I might be wrong that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin from here on. So careful. If it's going to outperform both Ethereum and Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin, then, you know, you don't need a large bag because you're on leverage, and it's going to catch up quite quickly in terms of your portfolio. So, you know, don't lose your mind. Apply patience, buy dips, and, you know, hope for the best. Don't lose your risk management out of sight. I think that's it. I would like to give you a broader view on Litecoin, but that's going to be for the next video. So at least you have that for the next video to be hyped about. And other than that, markets have been fucking great. So thanks for sticking around, and I hope you all made some nice profits. I certainly did get the rest I needed and also deserved. So hopefully I'll be able to continue providing some insights and this different way of providing my analysis for people who love videos and formats a little bit more, to understand the somewhat, to some people, more cryptic content on Twitter. I don't think it's cryptic, but you know, I only have 280 characters and I'm not a spoon feeder. So these videos might help you. If you like it, you know, follow, subscribe, like, whatever. And I'll catch you next week. Cheers.